Hey there, Brian Hood here from the sixfigurehomestudio.com. In today's video, I want to share a story with you. And this story is only going to be interesting for those of you who have ever had the dream to record or mix or master or produce bands or artists full time. If your dream has ever been to have any sort of career in audio, then this video is for you, because today I want to address some lies that may be holding you back from giving this career a legitimate chance of success. I want to share some of what I've learned during my journey to a six-figure home studio and beyond. And by the way, if your goal is to generate a full-time income from your home studio, go ahead and hit that subscribe button under this video, because I'll be posting a lot more videos like this in the future. Let me start things off here by first talking about some of the worst advice I've ever seen in my life when it comes to home studios. I was lurking the internet during a lunch break, and I came across a fantastic question that was sent to a well-respected producer. And the question was, what advice would you give 4 friends trying to start a studio? We're going to try to stay within a $20,000 budget, if at all possible, but it seems like the biggest issue will end up being location. Now, this is a really common type of question. I see this all the time, except most people don't have anywhere near $20,000 to spend on their studio when they're just starting out. So I was excited when I saw that well-respected producer answer the question. And that was until I actually saw what he said. Here's, and I quote you, here is what he said. He said, "You're going to need a lot more than that. Run the other way as fast as you can." Now, I'm well aware the internet is full of bad advice, but that answer really pissed me off for 2 good reasons. First of all, the person who answered this question, he's well known, he's well respected, he knows his shit, and people will generally follow the advice that he gives. The second reason this really pissed me off is that I know for a fact that his answer is wrong. It's total bullshit answer. I know he's wrong because I created a studio that's consistently generated a steady flow of income year after year after year. I've worked with some pretty good artists, several of which has debuted on the Billboard Top 200, and I've yet to see any signs of business slowing down. And I started it all with less than $5,000. And to make things more interesting, I started the studio in my parents' basement in Athens, Alabama, which is a town of 20,000 people, hardly an ideal location. I'd be surprised if any of you even know where that is. And this was in 2009. This was during the Great Recession, one of the worst economic times in our nation's history. So I don't know about you, but I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I didn't have a wealthy family that could just help me out financially and give me bundles of money to get started. And I hope the rest of the story can shed some light on why this misconception that you need $100,000 worth of gear to make it in this industry just isn't true anymore. That's an old way of doing it. It's not there anymore. The barrier to entry is gone. Any of you who have a small home studio, you can break into the pro world, and do something you're passionate about for a living, all without selling your soul or an arm or a leg. And if the only thing I accomplished with this video is open up your mind to the possibilities of a rapidly changing industry, then I've done my job. So first, let me give you some backstory, what I did to get started. So first of all, let's talk about the gear I started out with. This is where most of your minds go when you start talking about starting a studio, because this is the expensive part. So in 2009, I spent $1,400 on my interface. It was a DigiDesign 003 Rack Plus. It came with Pro Tools. These are a lot cheaper now. There are a lot better options now, but that's what I went with in 2009. I spent $1,000 building out a PC for my studio. I spent $200 on some cheap studio desk that had some rack spaces on it. I spent $150 on some cheap microphone stands, which came with free mic cables. I spent $400 on a Shure microphone pack, which had 3 SM57s and a Beta 52A kick drum mic. I spent $500 on some Rode NT5s, a matched pair, so I could do drum overheads. I spent $500 on Mackie MR8 studio monitors, which I still use to this day. I spent $200 on drum triggers. I spent like $130 on an AT3035 for a vocal mic, and then a few $100s here and there of some other miscellaneous stuff. I'm probably missing a few things, but so far we're at $4,680. And if I were to purchase this all used, which is what I would definitely do today, it would have been even cheaper, probably in the $2,000 or $2,500 range. So it was January 2009. My first batch of recording gear had finally arrived, and based out of my parents' basement, armed with just enough gear to get started recording bands, this was the humble beginnings of 456 Recordings. So because I was so committed to making this work, I spent the following 44 uninterrupted hours learning how to get everything set up and running. I stayed up nearly 2 days straight as my parents questioned my sanity. And once I could no longer physically function, I had eaten maybe 2 meals in 2 days. I finally passed out. I crashed for 12 hours. But as soon as I woke up, I proceeded to spend another 40 hours straight learning how everything worked. After another 12 hours of sleep and a third straight 40-hour shift where I'm just Googling stupid shit, learning whatever I could and just recording my own demos in my parents' basement, only then did I get back on a normal schedule. So why do I tell you all of this? is to drive one single point into your heads. It's if you do not have the same obsessive, burning desire to learn, you will never make it. No audio degree is going to give you this drive to succeed. No amount of gear can substitute this drive to succeed. If you are not eager and willing to learn, to grow, to put in the work, then there are thousands of people who are willing to put in the work. So now let's talk about my first paid project, because this is an important part of any home studio owner. Until you've been paid, you are not a business. So how did I get my first project? Well, after a month of taking in as much knowledge as I could, and recording my own demos and building out my own portfolio with the music that I had written, I finally convinced a friend of mine's band to come record with me. And the only reason they agreed to come record with me in my parents' basement was based on the demos that I had recorded on my own. So let this be a lesson to you. When you're just starting out, do whatever you can to build your portfolio so potential clients have some idea of what you can do for them. So with this first project, I just charged $50 a song. It wasn't really that much. I wasn't concerned with how much I could make. I think I only made about $4 an hour. That part did not matter to me. What mattered to me was that they would be blown away by my work ethic. And at the end of the day, they would be blown away with what result they got from my recordings. I knew that if I did a solid job, then they would send bands my way. And here's the final result of the first band I ever produced. This was done in January 2009 in my parents' basement. That should give you an idea of what an absolute beginner would produce with bare, basic gear after a month of binge learning. It's not great, but what really mattered was that the band was blown away, and they did refer their friends to come work with me. And within 7 months, I was even working with my first label project while working out of my parents' basement. This is for a band on Victory Records. It was a band called Before There Was Rosalind. This band traveled from Texas to Alabama to sleep on my basement floor of my parents' house, and we still put out a great record. So I just want you to know that you can make just about any sort of space work regardless of your limitations, regardless of who your roommates are, which in my case were my parents. So from that basic setup in my parents' basement in 2009 until my first six-figure year in 2014, I hardly changed any gear at all. And even in 2018 today, I honestly have nothing more than a fancy bedroom studio. The only difference in my sound from 2009 until 2018 is the knowledge that I've absorbed through the years, the constant trial and error that I've gone through. It's not the gear I use, it's the things I know. I've spent my time learning as much as I can to make the most out of what I have, not the technical aspects of every single preamp and compressor ever made. To this day, there are still such huge gaps in my knowledge about legit gear that I couldn't even tell you the difference between an API 512C and a Neve 1073 LB. I don't even know what those things are other than their preamps. That's basically all I know. The majority of my recordings were done through my DigiDesign 003 preamps. So I may not be able to teach you much or anything about gear, but I can definitely show you how I do what I do with my cheap gear. I can teach you everything behind the scenes, all the knowledge I've gained to help you run your studio as a profitable business, not just a gear collection. So now that you know a little bit about me and my story, I would love to know more about you. Let me know in the comments below this video what you charged for your first paid project. Or for those of you who are just starting out, or you're just thinking about starting your home studio, I also made a free PDF to go along with this video. It's called the Lean Home Studio. This is a PDF that includes the 5 laws of bootstrapping or self-funding your home studio. It also includes the specific gear list of what I would buy if I were starting my studio out from scratch today with a smaller budget. If you want that, you can just go to theleanhomestudio.com to download the PDF. Again, that is theleanhomestudio.com. Hope to see you in the comments under this video. Happy hustling and have an awesome day.